Hello and welcome to VC EuropeX. I'm Deb Dietz, co-chair of the conference. Always aim high, work hard, and care deeply about what you believe in. And when you stumble, keep the faith. And when you're knocked down, get right back up and never listen to anyone who says you can't or shouldn't go on. Hillary Clinton. What I learned from talking to so many women around the world is if you can empower them with the right things, the right tools and talents, they can lift up their family. And that ultimately lifts up their community and their society. Melinda Gates. On my own, I will just create. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't work, I'll create something else. I don't have any limitations on what I think I could do or be. Oprah Winfrey. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. Maya Angelou. Success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. Michelle Obama. I remember as a teenager the day my dad came home and announced that he had quit his job and was starting his own business, a management consulting business. I also remember having early family Sunday dinners, actually Sunday lunch, because my mom had to take my dad to Chicago O'Hare Airport to fly out for a week of business meetings. He did this every week for years, traveling and meeting with clients. I also remember as a teenager that my dad really seemed to enjoy his work. He enjoyed what he did, and it made an impression on me. And years passed, and I was headed off to college, and my dad asked me what I wanted to study. And at the time, I thought I wanted to be an elementary education teacher. So I said, that's what I want to study. And my dad thought about it for a minute and then said, oh, that's nice. Well, but you won't make any money. So I, took a note to self and understood that it really wasn't something that he was interested in for me. But I went ahead and pursued a degree in education nonetheless. And a couple of years into the education curriculum, I realized that I wasn't really all that excited about it as I initially had thought. And so I talked to my parents, and my dad said to me, why don't you take a business course? Go take a class, see what you think. And I did that. So I literally went to our local university, took my first business course, which was Marketing 101. And that was it. That was it for me. I knew that was something I was interested in. And so I decided to pursue business instead of education. And so for years, my dad and I would talk about business. He would share stories about his clients. We used to talk, had great conversations about his clients, their challenges, what he was recommending for them. We talked about their different business models because he had clients in many different kinds of industries. And so I made that decision to switch my major to go into business. And I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business and then was thinking about what my next steps were. And my dad said to me, why don't you go get an MBA? And he had gotten his MBA at the University of Chicago. And so it seemed logical, I'm sure, to him to say, hey, you've got an undergraduate degree in business, go get your MBA. And I thought about that and I thought, well, I really only needed to go back to school for one more year because I had all the prerequisites. So I decided to do that. And another thing that was really very meaningful to me as this young adult was that I remember that, when I reflect back, my dad went to school during the day and he worked second shift. And he was pursuing his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering at the time. And then he ultimately went to the University of Chicago for his MBA. But that was back in the day when we had one family car. And my mother would pull us kids out of bed to be able to go and pick my dad up from work after his second shift had ended. And so I was learning a lesson very early on about the importance of a work ethic, what working hard really looked like. My dad worked really hard. He studied during the day, he worked at night. He came home and worked and did things around the house and with us as kids. And my mother was busy in the home, and I really learned about what working hard looked like. And that's something that I'm eternally grateful for, is to have that work ethic and to learn that at an early age. And so, years passed and I went to work in corporate America, top ranked corporations, the names. And my dad had said to me, get as much experience as you can. I had just gotten a degree in marketing, a master's degree, marketing and management concentrations. And so I did that. And after a couple of years, he said to me, we had, many of our frequent conversations about business. And he said, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? And I thought, what do you mean? What am I going to do next? I love what I'm doing. I love the company that I work for. I have great opportunities to contribute. I'm learning a lot. He said, well, what about operations? And I remember thinking, operations? I'm a marketing person. I'm not interested in operations. And he said, well, I think you should learn about operations. Think about it. And I thought about it. And so I did that. So I moved into an operations role. And then time passed. And sure enough, there was another conversation. And he talked to me about the importance of sales. He said, I think you need to learn about direct sales. And I thought, okay, well, I have, an understanding of marketing. I've been working in marketing. I've been working in operations, sales. And he said, yes, I think you should learn about direct sales. Think about it. So I thought about it, and then I did that. And so then not that long down the road, we had another conversation. He said, okay, you've been working in, product, manufacturing, industrial distribution, industries. You should really think about services. I thought product, tangible product, manufacturing, promotion, services. I don't know anything about services. He said, I think you should think about financial services. And I went, financial services, really? And he said, well, think about it. And so I thought about it and I did that. And so, all these steps that I took were really directed, quite frankly, and highly recommended and encouraged by my dad. So I did those jobs, and and then I moved up the ranks. So I started certainly, out of MBA school, as an analyst, and then I moved up to a manager, director, VP, chief officer roles. And it never really actually dawned on me until after he had passed away that my dad was directing me to follow in his management consulting footprints. And so he would say to me throughout the years, I think you should ultimately think about starting your own business or come and work for me. And I thought about that, but I loved the security of corporate America. I loved the work opportunities that that I was able to take advantage of. My own professional development. Not to mention corporate America. Great benefits, great compensation, stock options. As part of the leadership of these firms, the compensation was very lucrative. And then my dad became ill, and 2 years later, he passed away. And when he passed away, I lost my way. And a year after his death, on his first anniversary, while visiting the cemetery with my mother, she looked at me and said, "What are you doing? You know what he wanted for you." Ooh, that gives me shivers just to say that. The next day, I incorporated my business. That was 9 years ago. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. We use a metaphor to explain the roller coaster ride that we're all on. We've bought our tickets and gotten on the ride. But there's a reason that brought us there, each of us, to buy our ticket in the first place, a spark. And my spark was my dad. But then came the fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of being an imposter. But then miraculously, clients came. I had learned enough from my business education and my corporate work experience to build some solid management skills, and I had found my passion. One of the most important lessons as you embark on your journey as a business owner is to believe in yourself, because doubt is the greatest enemy. To overcome doubt, you must develop skills and talents because those are the tools you need to succeed. Our fear of the unknown and our fear of making mistakes tricks us into focusing on what we don't know or can't do. But when we give ourselves the freedom to be uncertain and less than perfect, then we can start thinking, what do I know? What can I do? And then the adventure begins. The vision for our free online global conferences came from a conversation Ram and I had at the beginning of this year. On my talk show, Ask Deb About Business, we speak with subject matter experts about emerging trends in business, challenges, opportunities, and our promise for the show is to share knowledge with an expectation that our audience will get some practical advice that they can make actionable for themselves and their businesses. We also became aware of the injustices when it came to funding of women for their businesses, that women receive significantly less than others do when it comes to raising capital. And then we learned a harsher reality. Other minorities, LGBTQ, Asian, Black, Brown communities face the exact same problem, and even worse, those in a double minority status received even fewer funding opportunities. And because Ram heads up a media company, TV, radio, magazine, blogs, podcasts, and video on demand capabilities, and I head up a digital education company, we looked at each other and said, rather than just talk about this injustice, let's leverage our collective horsepower and do something about this. And thus, VC Latinx was born this past May, where we hosted over 1,000 attendees from 25 different countries. And here we are again, hosting attendees from over 30 countries. Between VC Latinx and VC EuropeX, we've gathered over 13,000 members in our conference community. So instead of gathering one expert to be a guest on our talk show every other week, we've gathered over 80 experts who are committed to dedicating time and effort to ensure women and minorities, all of you, receive the same opportunities for funding others do. We want to ensure your innovations come to fruition, that you have the greatest probability for success. On our Ask Deb About Business show, we focus on emerging trends, challenges, and opportunities facing small to mid-sized businesses, business owners, business leadership, and business professionals. So the show is driven by emerging trends facing SMBs, small to mid-sized businesses. So in that spirit, let's take a look at those trends. So here are some statistics from McKinsey, Forbes, the World Bank, World Economic Forum, WBENC, National Women's Business Council, MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs. The list is very, very long. So some global statistics for women in business. Globally, 1 in 3 businesses has women among principal ownership. Female business ownership is proportional to the country's income level. So 25% of businesses have female owners in low-income countries. 36% have female owners in higher-income countries. And globally, half of all women entrepreneurs work in the wholesale or retail vertical. Almost 50% of all women entrepreneurs worldwide are in wholesale and retail. 20% of women entrepreneurs can be found in the health, government, and social services sector. Only 2.7% of women start their business in the ICT information, computer, and technology vertical. Globally, 1 in 5 startups had at least one woman founder in 2019. The share of startups led by at least one female founder has doubled from 10 to 20%. Women are more likely than men to start a business with 0 employees. And more than 70% of women reporting job scarcity is the chief motivator behind their startups. Globally, only a quarter of the countries have equal legal rights for women and men. I'm going to say that again. Globally, only a quarter of the countries have equal legal rights for women and men. And of the 141 countries covered in the Women Business and Law database, only 38 countries have set out equal legal rights for men and women. Rights essential for women in business, like opening a bank account, getting a job without permission from a spouse, or simply owning or managing a property. Some general statistics about women in business. McKinsey said businesses with a diverse executive team are 25% more likely to be highly profitable. Businesses in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams are 25% more likely to have above average profitability. Companies with more than 30% female executives are more likely to outperform companies who don't. On average, over 50% of female investors go for values-based investing. Female investors are likely to invest in making the world a better place. That's 50% versus 23% of male investors. Some U.S. statistics for women in business. Women start approximately 850 new businesses every single day in the U.S., and the number is increasing. I'm going to say that again. Women start 850 new businesses every single day. 850, and the number's increasing. 42% of all businesses are owned by women. Almost 15% of U.S. women in business reported entrepreneurial intentions in 2021. Half of the startups in the U.S. were created by women founders in 2021. Women entrepreneurs grew by 48%, outpacing male counterparts by more than 20% in America. More than 1/3 of female investors reported they are more likely to invest in startups to diversify their portfolios. This 37% of women compares to just 18% of male investors' willingness to invest in startups. Half of the startups in the U.S. were created by women founders a couple of years ago. But when you look at all the statistics, you come down to one key learning. The biggest hardship women entrepreneurs face last year, this year, all women teams only received 1.9% of the total venture capital allocated. This 1.9% raised equated to $4.5 billion. That's $4.5 billion from the overall $238 billion raised by venture capital. And this is even a noticeable drop from 2021, where all women teams raised 2.4% of the year's VC total. So, venture capital funding dollars is moving in the wrong direction for women. So, the top priority for women-owned businesses is to get more funding and financial help. This is the primary reason why Ram and I have created the global VC conferences. From the teenage girl in Africa in the thin bare cotton dress who found her way into a workshop being given by one of my colleagues so she could learn how to better communicate so that she could sell more eggs to help support her family, to the women sex trafficked in Ghana who are learning computer skills to start virtual assistance companies to help themselves out of dire circumstances, to the woman farmer in rural Colombia who wants to qualify for funding to expand her farm. There are stories like this everywhere, and Ram and I are committed to help everyone's innovation come to fruition, that everyone has the greatest probability for success. We're leading with education. We're leading with training. We're leading with coaching. And we're leading with community. The 4 pillars of our conference. This is VC EuropeX. Ram and I have plans to take this conference other places in the world. We're already planning for VC Asia Pacific early next year and VC Middle East and Africa mid-year next year. Today, we have more than 30 countries attending our conference. Thank you for being part of such a meaningful event. We thank our sponsors, partners, speakers, educators, coaches, exhibitors, suppliers for their significant contributions. Together, we will make a difference to help level the playing field for women and minorities all over the world. Remember, you are the CEO of your own life. Whether we're talking about a football game, an election, or an entrepreneurial journey, one thing is certain. There are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. Want to stack the odds of being a successful entrepreneur in your favor? Start by taking note of these 10 things you shouldn't do. Don't be jealous or envious. Wasting time focusing on other people's success or achievements will just sidetrack your own progress. Don't look back. You're going to face hard times, but don't let the bumps in the road stop your forward progress. Find ways to maneuver around obstacles and continue to push forward. Don't make excuses. If you make a bad decision, own it. Search for the cause of the problem and chalk it up to a valuable business lesson. This is key. Don't ever stop learning. This entire conference is about learning. Your age, years of experience, or level of success should never prevent you from learning. We can all continue to learn and be inspired from other entrepreneurs, from other subject matter experts. Associate with positive individuals. You don't want to let anyone's negative aura rub off on you. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are as focused and determined as you are. Don't wake up without a plan. Time management is a crucial part of being an entrepreneur. Don't be scared to make changes and adapt. Just remember this, if Apple never adapted, they'd still just be making computers. Don't let your bark be bigger than your bite. Successful entrepreneurs don't sit back and talk about what they're going to do. They plan, follow through, and conquer. Don't focus solely on dollar signs. Don't chase the money. Rather, focus on creating products or services that make a difference and provide value. If you do this, the money will come. I'm going to say that again. Don't chase the money. Rather, focus on creating products or services that make a difference and provide value. If you do this, the money will come. And don't let failure stop you. Successful entrepreneurs go into everything knowing that there is a chance of failure. But if you fail, keep going forward. Remember James Dyson? His first 5,176th prototype were failures, but his 5,127th prototype worked and went on to become the top-selling vacuum in the United States. He's now worth $4.5 billion because he never once let failure stop him. The key to success is to start before you're ready. And remember, one of the most important lessons as you embark on your journey as a business owner is to believe in yourself, because doubt is the greatest enemy. To overcome doubt, you must develop skills and talents. Those are the tools you need to succeed. And that is why you're with us this week, to develop your skills and your talents. And the most effective way to do it is to do it. That from Amelia Earhart. And remember this from Michelle Obama. Success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. And as my father's daughter, my dad would have loved this.